What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGF from Zero, back with another retro Yu-Gi-Oh video, and in this video we're going to be covering something called IOC Format, which is basically the unlimited version of Chaos Format. Now, if you don't know, on this channel we do cover a lot of more official retro Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments and formats like Chaos Format, which uses the April 2004 limited list and a card pool going up to around Invasion of Chaos. But there are sort of hypothetical or what if formats that sort of slip through the cracks between these official formats. And that's what I want to cover today. Now, for one of the fun things about like IOC format, which is basically Chaos Format without the April 2004 ban list or limited list, that is that, it actually might have been more real than a lot of the other hypothetical formats. There is some evidence that at the time, these cards would have been legal for tournament play on release. And that would make this a potential legitimate format to revisit. But, given its similarity to Chaos Format, it probably won't really see much play, but I do think it's fun to explore. So I put up the April 2004 limited list the Chaos Format uses here. Since the card pools are relatively the same, I think it's important just to look at the differences in the limited list. So this is April 2004. Let's just go down to February 2004 now and see what changes. So as you can see here, Black Lotus Soldier Envoy at the beginning and Chaos Ember Dragon Envoy at the end are both now unlimited, as well as Mana Core of Darkness. Now, I don't think Mana Core of Darkness being unlimited will really change that much. Having 2 versus 3 of this won't really matter for the deck why that made it banned, because, that Exodia sort of combo deck just needs to have 2 in rotation, and then it'll be fine. So, adding a third may make it a little bit more consistent, but I don't think really that deck is consistent enough to actually be a major threat. Having 3 Black Lotus Soldier Envoy at the beginning and 3 Chaos Ember Dragon Envoy at the end, though, that might make a little difference. So let's sort of tinker with a deck list for a Chaos deck, playing 3 of each of these and see what that will actually look like. So this is my sort of first take at what a list would look like for this format. And as it's a first take, and I really want to sort of test out what having 3 copies of CED and 3 copies of BLS would do to a deck in this format, I am playing all 6. Now, in future iterations, maybe you don't want to play all 6. Maybe this is a bit too bricky, as the Chaos monsters need other monsters engraved to actually work. But, when you are testing a format like this, where there is just an unlimited amount of a really broken card, I do think it can be worth just pushing the limits of that, playing a deck with all of the copies available and seeing if it's actually good or seeing if there's just too much of a good thing there. So I am playing all 6 copies here. And, a little bit of a spoiler for the duels that I'm going to play and be featuring in this video. I do actually think that, having 6 copies of these Chaos monsters might be the correct play in this format. But before we dive into those games, let's dive into the deck breakdown. So first off, this is going to look like a pretty normal, regular Chaos deck, except it's got the 3 BLS, 3 CED as your boss monsters. In Chaos format, these monsters are sort of one-ofs that you always have to be afraid of. In this format, they are more inevitable than they will be in Chaos, and that makes them a lot scarier. These are just very, very powerful 3K beat sticks that you can bring up pretty easily, and we want to facilitate bringing these out as much as possible. For the other monsters, we've got a Break of the Magical Warrior, a Dark that can clear back row. We've got double DD Warrior Lady and 2 Shining Angel. These are lights of choice that are not BLS. Oftentimes you will wind up with a CED or BLS in graveyard, so you don't really have to, play as many lights as you would in regular Chaos format, but I do like double Shining Angel, double DD Warrior Lady. I was debating Thunder Dragon, as, you can sort of put a bunch of lights in grave at once with that, but I do think that in a deck where you're already potentially drawing things that won't be able to do things right away, you don't want to draw into a Thunder Dragon, which also will not do something right away. So that's why I've opted for the Shining Angels and the Warrior Ladies. I figured Shining Angel can also get a bunch of lights engraved if you really need them to, because you just summon this out, attack into your opponent's monster, and just dump a bunch of lights into the graveyard. So, I like Shining Angel here in this slot, and double DD Warrior Lady as opposed to 3. You could bump this up to 3, but, deck space was very, very tight, and I did want to include double Shining Angel. I didn't want to just have 1 Shining Angel here, so, yeah, I figured it would be good to just have 2 Shining Angels, 2 DD Warrior Ladies, 1 for each Shining Angel. For the other monster, we got double Gravekeeper Spy. This was originally going to be 3, but again, deck space was very tight, so I did cut it here. But I do think the 2 is ultimately pretty good, unless you brick on both of them. But even if you brick on both of them, it's a 2K Defender, it's a Dark, so it's not the worst thing in the world. We get Triple Kaiku, the Ghost Destroyer, in a format with 6 very powerful Chaos monsters. You probably want to play Triple Kaiku to stop your opponent from bringing them out. We've got Ace Sangan, we got a bunch of Black Forest to search out almost everything in our deck. We got the Shining Angel that I mentioned, we got Sinister Serpent, we got Tri-Infecting Virus. These are 2 non-chaos type monsters, but I do think they are very, very good. Tribe can clear your opponent's chaos monsters or clear a Kaiku or something like that without going to battle phase. Sinister Serpent can pair with Tribe, but more importantly, it can allow you to sort of have a leg up if you have to trigger Chaos Ember Dragon and not kill your opponent, or your opponent triggers Chaos Ember Dragon and can't kill you. Having a Sinister Serpent can be very, very good in those sorts of situations. For these spells, we've got a Card Destruction here. Card Destruction is a little bit of an experimental pick in this deck. Basically, the idea is if you're bricked on Chaos monsters, you can use Card Destruction, pitch them in the grave. Now you've got Light and Dark set up there. You're drawing into potentially other Chaos monsters, so I figure it could be good in that way. After testing this, I'm not the biggest fan of Card Destruction. I think I might relegate it to the side or just not play it at all. But I do think it's an interesting thing to experiment with. We got Change of Heart, we get Confiscation, Dark Hole, Graceful Charity, Mirage, Monster Reborn, Triple MST, Painful Choice, Pot of Greed, Raigeki, Snatch Steal, Force Sentry. I didn't really spend too much time on these because these are all just very, very broken. And they're broken in Chaos format as well for pretty much the same reasons. Now, Painful is actually much, much stronger here in this deck in particular, because if you just have Painful and you've got like 5 Chaos monsters in your deck, you just activate Painful, send all 5, and then you've got a guaranteed Chaos monster on your side of the field, which is really, really good. Painful is almost an instant win button a lot of the time when you draw it. So, very, very powerful card. For the traps, we've got Imperial Order to shut off your opponent's spells. We got Ring of Destruction to stop things like the Chaos monsters and also potentially deal that last bit of damage that you need. And also, we got triple Torrential Tribute. I like Torrential Tribute over Mirror Force here because Torrential can at least play a little bit better into something like CED. Because, you know, if your opponent brings out CED, uses Prio and stuff, then, you know, you won't be able to use your Mirror Force, but you will be able to use TT to at least mitigate some of the damage that you're going to be taking. So, I like it a little bit better. It also plays better into Breaker. And also, you know, if your opponent does go for like a huge play, bringing out multiple Chaos monsters, it can be good at stopping that as well. So, for the side deck, we've got a Injection Fairy Lily here as a decent search target to bring out to end the game as well. I think that when you're playing the BLS and CEDs, you don't really need another win condition in the deck, but this is a potential card to bring in for that. We got the Triple Thunder Dragon. This is more for just experimenting with if I like Thunder Dragon or not. I never really felt the need to bring these in, so I, probably will cut them for the side deck in the future. We got a Liquid Duo if we know we're going first. We got Harpies and a Heavy Storm for our opponents on a more back row heavy deck. We got Double Knock. This can be good if we know we're going second, as well as just, being a good card against flip focus strategies. We get a Mirror Force here. Mirror Force, actually, I would put in the main over Card Destruction, I think. But, it was here just sort of as an experimental thing. But yeah, I think it is actually really good in the main deck, as it is another way to stop things like BLS or CED if they are just attacking in to get damage that way. Also, we got Triple Royal Decree. This can be good against more back row heavy decks as well. And we got Double Sakuretsu Armor in case we want to, get more battle protected. We do have a extra deck here, but it won't really come up that much because we're not playing Scientist. We could potentially Snatch Kill or Change of Heart our opponent's Scientist, so that's something. But I feel like Scientist is a bit bad in this format where, you are at risk of just dying out of nowhere at all times. So paying a bunch of life points is not really the best. So I'm not the hugest fan of Scientist here. Duo is also in the side for a similar reason. Also, like, when you are facing against so many Chaos monsters, giving your opponent free Chaos setup is potentially not the best thing to do. So that's why this is in the side. It's good when going first, and you're going first. But, in general, in the main, I'm not sure I would include it. But that's going to do it for the deck breakdown. And, of course, this is a very sort of an initial list. There's definitely improvements that you can make to this. But I just sort of wanted to test it out, see what would happen if we had 6 Chaos monsters in the deck. So without further ado, let's dive into the games and actually see how this format looks. Okay, we got some games against Ratos here, a frequent guest on the channel. Always a pleasure to have them on. We are going to win the rock, paper, scissors, which is pretty good in a format like this, where you do want to get aggressive, so you want to be going first here. But this is a really good opener. We got Comfy there. We also have Forceful. That is insanely good. Yeah, and we also got a Light and a Dark. Sangan can search us out something. Ring and TT can protect us. This is a really, really good hand. We're going to start with the Forceful, just to see what they're working with here. I figure shuffling something back is a little bit better than going for a discard here in case we do want to save the discard for some reason. So we get to look at their hand, and we see that they've got Ring of Destruction, Delinquent Duo, Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, Magician of Faith, and Call the Haunted. Now, what I could potentially do here is I could shuffle back the Magician of Faith with the Forceful, then like Comfy away the Ring, and then set 3, so the Duo is a bit less good. I don't want them to have Call online, though, because call makes the Kaiku a little bit sticky, and I really don't want their Kaiku just sticking around on field. So I think I actually might send back the call. I might also send back the ring. I think we send back the call here, and I think that makes sense because our monsters can't really get over Kaiku. All we've really got to deal with Kaiku is like ring. We could TT it, but we don't want to lose our Shining Angel that way. And we want to get aggressive here, so I figure we will be committing the Sangan and the Shining Angel to field. So yeah, I'm gonna send back the call just to make it so that we can actually clear that Kaiku. So we could also go for a Comfy here to rip another card out of their hand. But I kind of want to bait them into using Duo and then using Faith to get back the Duo. Because they'll be down 1,000. We're okay if we lose a Shining Angel. Or a Sangan because we set the Shining Angel here. But like this will allow us to then snipe the Duo out of their hand if they go for the Faith. This plays into like Harpy's Feather Duster if they draw off the top. But if they draw off the top, you know, they're just too good. So it is what it is. You know, we can't really do anything about it. If they draw the one of there. But they're just going to bring out this Kaiku attack into the Shining Angel. We could have potentially TT that. We also could have ringed the Kaiku. But what I want to do here is I want to just bring out a DD Warrior Lady. And then I can ring the Kaiku in the end phase. So they're going to set 2. We're going to ring the Kaiku. And we'll both take 18. And now we can attack directly for a lot of damage. We draw a Sinister Serpent, which is really good as well. We're going to bring in the Sangan. Attack in for 25. And that 1,000 will go through. Will this 1,500? No, they're going to ring it. I mean, that still deals 1,500, but now our Warrior Lady is off the table. We have 2 lights engraved, so that's pretty decent. Our opponent is going to set 1, pass back to us. We have the read that is the Magician of Faith, so we're just going to bring out this DD Warrior Lady, attack into it. Unfortunate for us, it is a spy. So, yeah, if it was the Faith, we would have banished it and then deprived them of a light engrave. But it being spy, it makes it a little bit more awkward. So we do take 5 here. We could decide to banish the spy and lose the Warrior Lady. But I feel like we've got a pretty decent board setup here, and we don't want to let them like run over the Sangan with the spy and then get in over with another monster as well. I mean, we have TT for that as well, but if they summon out like Witch, that would be annoying. Or even if they don't, even if they just switch spy to attacking the Sangan. Maybe get a search in that case, so it's not the worst, but I still feel like, you know, we can leave their monster on the field. We've got the TT to clear away that monster anyways, so we don't really need to banish it right now. So I figured this should be fine. They've got Snatch Steal though, and that is really unfortunate. That's going to take the Warrior Lady, and we don't have a way to stop it, so they're going to be able to banish our Sangan and our Warrior Lady in one fell swoop, get in for 12, and we get majorly punished for not banishing that spy because now our Sangan is gone. They are going to go for Serpent here, which is really, really good for us because, you know, we just get the Serpent back. So they just paid 1,000 for nothing, basically. We add back that Serpent. So we could potentially just summon Serpent, TT the board because we have the read that they've got the Faith set. But we check their graveyard and all they've got are Snatch Steal and Duo, both of which we can sort of play around. So I don't really feel the need to do that. We're just going to Reborn the Kaiku here. And we are, okay, we're going to attack into the Faith as opposed to attacking into the Spy, because they don't have any monsters engraved for us to banish. So I think this is fine, yeah. They're going to add back the Snatch Steal, and then we can copy it away with this confiscation there. So we see their hand, we see that they've also got a Warrior Lady on top of the Snatch Steal. So that's actually a little bit worrying, because if they bring out Warrior Lady, and they've got like MST as well to pop our back row, then they can attack into Kaiku with the Warrior Lady, banish both, then attack him for 24. So we do have to set the Serpent in a worst case scenario. Unfortunately, they do know about the Serpent, so our TT is a lot worse here. Or not our TT, our Serpent's a lot worse into Warrior Lady. But I'm sort of having to give them the decision here. Do they attack into Kaiku and get rid of that? Or do they attack into the Serpent and banish that? So they are indeed going to attack into the Kaiku here. So, you know, we will banish the Faith. They're going to banish those. And now they're going to attack in for 1,200 damage here. You know, dropping this down to 800. That's pretty good. We draw Spy, though. That's about as good a draw as we could get. Yeah, because if we had just, I mean, we would have been forced basically just to summon Serpent, activate TT, pop the board. If we didn't draw that Spy or another monster that could wall up the other Spies. So I'm very glad we drew that. We are going to pass back to our opponent. They're going to attack in to our set Spy, and that's really good. We get out another Spy in defense mode. We don't want to leave it into attack to let them get a Dark Engrave if they want to do that. They're just going to send another pass back to us. We draw Mirage of Nightmare, which is really good. We can just, you know, think about this a bit, but we're going to just set the Serpent, go for Mirage Pass. We could have also summoned the Serpent, TT the board, but I feel like that's really bad into a variety of things if they've got any monsters, so But the Mirage is going to be fine there. They don't have MST for that. Unfortunately, we don't have MST either in this hand. They're just going to set a couple pass back to us, and we do not draw another MST. But the good thing is that we've got a couple potential win cons here. You know, if we keep Raigeki, that basically wins us the game. If we have CED, that also wins us the game. Or actually, we're not at 1,000, so it doesn't quite win us the game, but it's still a 3K beater, so that's pretty decent. So we got a couple really good cards to keep here. So they're going to let us keep the Raigeki. So that is potentially the end of the game here. We're going to go for Raigeki. Unfortunately, they do have Imperial Order, so that's going to go through. But this can potentially drop their life points down a little bit lower. So I'm okay with this. We don't draw off Mirage here, unfortunately. But we draw another TT, which is good for installation. Because they normal summon a monster that can deal with our board, like Tribe or something. We want to TT that, and then we have the follow-up TT for a Chaos monster as well. So I think it's working out pretty good for us. They're going to pay another 7, dropping down to 200. They're going to set one pass back to us. We draw Snatchiel. Isn't the best right now, but we're just going to set that. Because they have to let the IO go here, and then we'll be able to draw off the Mirage. So I want to have as little cards in hand as possible. Unfortunately, we do not draw an MST. That is really rough. But our opponent is going to fire a Reborn here on the DD Warrior Lady. And we could potentially TT that, but this isn't actually threatening to clear our board. So because it's not threatening to clear our board, I feel like this is fine. I don't think they would have gone for Reborn if they had Raigeki to clear a board that way. Especially if they didn't have, you know, if they had Dark Hole, same sort of deal. So yeah, I feel like this is going to be ultimately fine to just let go. We can save the TT for later. They are going to be able to banish our Serpent, also get a light out of our grave, which is annoying, but ultimately I think this is still fine for us. So we still don't draw an MST. They're going to let us keep the card Destruction here, and that is a really bad card in this situation. We could activate it, pitch a card out of our opponent's hand, but that's just kind of bad. So I don't go for that. I just keep it in hand. I don't want to set it in case we draw an MST, then we can't activate it. So I'm just going to keep it here. We draw 3 off this Mirage. We still do not draw an MST. That is kind of wild. We're down to the last 12 cards in our deck. We got 3 MSTs in here, so it's just we're not drawing them. Opponent's going to set one, pass back to us, and yeah, we got to pitch 3 here off the Mirage, and they let us keep the Pot and the Eye, which are honestly some of the best cards we could have kept here. We're going to go for the Pot, draw 2. We draw another MST, which is pretty good. Or not another, that's our first MST, actually. But unfortunately, we don't have a way to actually win the game here. We do have Lights and Darks and Grave, so we can go for the BLS. But, you know, we really needed that Serpent, so that way we'd be able to flip them, the Serpent, TT the board, and then bring out another monster. But as is, we can't really do that. So, yeah, we're just going to actually, you know, play it a bit safe here. We're going to set the MST past. Now, I think I also could have set the IO and passed. So, the reason why I'd set the IO instead is because it's insulating ourselves against something like Raigeki, for instance. And also it can shut down Mirage as well. But, you know, having the MST clears up a board slot in our back row, so there's that. I could have also just fired MST on my own Snatchiel as well. That's cleared up a board spot that way. Draw more cards from deck. We would have drawn an MST. So that could have been definitely the move. I also could have just MST'd their back row as well, deprive them of whatever that is. So I feel like there are a couple different moves I could have done here, and I think maybe setting the MST was not the correct move because Raigeki would have just won the game for our opponent here. But luckily, they do not have the Raigeki. So we are going to live another turn, and I feel like this should be able to wrap it up. We get Dark Hole, and so we can clear the board that way. We've got, you know, MST for our Mirage, we got TT, etc. So they're going to go for a Magician of Faith, and they're going to add back that Reborn. That is fine by us. You know, again, you know, they don't have a way to clear our board right now, so this is ultimately fine. They're going to go for Dark Hole, clear the board that way, and then they're going to go for some monsters, but they only have 2 ways to bring out monsters unless the set is like Call the Haunted. If the set is Call the Haunted, then we can MST that Call the Haunted and we deal with it that way too. So, you know, we got double TT for those 2 monsters that they bring out. They can't prio CED, so I feel like we should ultimately be fine. Even if they have Cannon Soldier for some reason, if they prio Cannon Soldier, you know, we're not dead. So I still feel like we're in a really, really good spot here. And our opponent's going to go for the Monster Reborn indeed, bring out a Kaiku. The activation is fine, but on the summon, we are just going to TT that away. They're going to banish 2, go for CED. We've got the other TT. And this is why I play multiple TTs in the deck, because TT is really important for stopping a lot of our opponent's stuff. We're going to MST our own Mirage here. Because, you know, if that set is TT, they'll have to basically TT like one of our summons. If it's Mirror Force, then we can just bring out the other summon afterwards. So the risk is if it's like Call the Haunted. Call the Haunted would be annoying for us, because if it is Call the Haunted, then they can like bring back, actually they can't bring back CED, because CED can only be summoned out through its own effect. So if we bring out BLS, it's probably fine here either way. So we're thinking about this, thinking about the ordering of what to do here. We could summon out Tribe, we could summon out BLS, but we are just going to go for the BLS because I think this does play around Call, and the set was just Confiscation, so we are perfectly fine here. And that will be the end of game one. Very, very intense game. You'll notice that we were both down to sub 1,000 life points at the end of the game, so very, very cool. And wild games for sure. Let's hope that game two can also be just as good. So we are going to be going second here. Because we did win that first game, and they don't have a hand rip. I mean, we got Pot Graceful. Pot Graceful is really, really good here. Our opponent's going to set 2, pass back to us. We draw a Kaiku here. We're going to go for the pot, draw 2. And we could potentially save the Graceful for if we have like a Sinister Serpent. Also, you know, we do have a Spy in hand. We might want to get the other Spy out of the deck before going for the Graceful. But I get a little bit greedy here. I just go for the Graceful. And, you know, we luckily do not hit a Spy. And now we can set up a Light and a Dark and Grave. Although Witch and DD Warlord are both pretty good monsters, so it's always unfortunate to have to discard those, but I do think that those were pretty good discards to do. So we're just going to set a Spy here, set a TT, an MST, and a Ring, and pass back to our opponent. I think maybe I could have held the Ring in hand, but I've got MST in case they use like Harpies from hand. I can chain MST to pop their back row. And I've got double TTs in hand, so I don't really care if I lose this TT. I do care about it if I lose the Ring, though, so maybe I should have held that. But they're going to summon out a DD Warrior Lady here. We could have potentially TT'd that, but I think it's fine, honestly. We've got this Spy, so we're going to bring out another Spy from deck. And they're going to choose not to banish. They're going to pass back to us. Oh, I forgot to mention, I set it out of Comfy and Forceful for the double knocks, just to see how it would go. Because I did see that they were on Spy and Faith in game one, so I figured the knocks are also going to be pretty good here for that. We're going to go for knock here, banish their Spy, and we don't have any other targets left in deck. They've only got one target left in deck. And we could have potentially, you know, ringed their DD Warrior Lady, brought out like maybe even Kaiku, and gone in for a lot of damage here. Or we could have just switched our Spies to attack and gotten in for damage that way. But I'm playing a little bit safe. I'm just passing back to them, see what they do. They go for Painful, and this could really punish me if they send a bunch of Chaos monsters. And that'd be really unfortunate, but looks like they're going to send some Hand Rips, a Serpent, a Faith, and a Saku. We're going to give them the Serpent, as, you know, Serpent is... I mean, Serpent's the least impact card to add to hand there, basically. They're going to go for Tribe, and they're not going to use Prio. So we're just going to fire Ring on the Tribe and get rid of it that way. If they had gone for Prio pitching the Serpent, then we would have chained TT there instead of the Ring. And then we could have brought out Kaiku and banished the Serpent there anyways. So I think it would have been rough for them either way here. But yeah, I think in general, you do just want to like Prio the Tribe if you got Serpent. And they realized that in the chat. So yeah, quite unfortunate for them. They're going to switch the Warrior Lady to defense. We draw BLS. We've got the Light and Dark and Grave, so we are feeling really good about this. We're just going to fire MST on the back row. It's a Mirror Force, so I feel really good. We're going to banish a Light and a Dark. Bring out a BLS here. We are going to banish that DD Warrior Lady. And we're just going to get in for a ton of damage. It's not quite the end of the game. They do just scoop it up here, though. But, I mean, this is going to be 4,200 damage. We're going to banish the Tribe and the Faith from Grave. We've got TTs. And they're going to be very, very low on life points. Let's see what they've got in hand. Yeah, they got some good monsters, but those will not stand up to a BLS. So yeah, they would have lost the game here. Drawing that breaker, would not have done anything for them. So, that is going to be the end of game one. So, this wasn't the only game that we played though, because this was very intense, very exciting, and we wanted to see how it would go in the second match. So let's dive into the second match that we played and see how that one goes for us. Okay, we got game 2 here against Doritos again. And we are going to be losing the rock, paper, scissors this time. So we are going to be going second. And this would have been a good going first hand, honestly. They're going to set one pass back to us. We draw a Spy, which is pretty decent. We're going to go for this Confiscation, see what they're working with. They've got a Change of Heart, Magician of Faith, Snatch Heal, MST, and Sangan here. Pretty decent hand. We want to get rid of the Change because we have Spy in hand. Yeah, it's kind of awkward. Maybe we should have actually set the Comfy, set the Ring, then gone for card destruction, and then Comfied their new hand. But I figured, like, that's a really I mean, that's a really risky play if we do that. So I think this is still fine. Then we can save the card destruction for after they flip the Magician Fate to add back a spell. I think that makes sense. So we're going to take the change here. And then we're going to save the card destruction for when they, go for Faith. I figure the set that they've got on field is not Faith unless they were like doing a super big brain play. And they're like, okay, Beastbox is going to draw a hand rip. So I'm just going to hold my spells in hand and then get one back with Faith. But yeah, I feel like that set cannot be Faith. So we're just going to set the Spy. I feel like this is pretty good into it. I could have sent out Breaker, just try to hit over it. But if it's Sangan or Witch, I don't want them to get a Search. If it's Spy, I don't want them to get another Spy. So I figure this is ultimately fine. They're going to go for Geki, though, on our Spy. And flip a DD Warrior Lady attacking in for 2,500. That's going to be pretty brutal for us. And they're going to pass back to us. So we draw Witch, which is okay. We can set the Witch, set the Ring, pass back to our opponent there. We didn't set the Ring before because we didn't want them to MST it when they didn't have a face-up monster on field. Now that they do have a face-up monster on field that we'd want to ring, it's fine going for this because we can ring that DD Warrior Lady. We would have ringed it anyways, so that's perfectly fine. They're going to bring out a Kaiku here, attack in with the Sangan first, and luckily the Witch will wall up the Sangan. They won't get to banish any cards from our graveyard here. They are going to attack into the Witch, and we get a search here. Unfortunately, the Kaiku is shutting us off from going for the Chaos Emperor Dragon right away, because, it prevents us from banishing monsters in grave. So even if we were playing something like Thunder Dragon to add a light to grave there, then we wouldn't have actually been able to pull it off right away because the Kaiku is stopping us. So we're just going to add back this Serpent to prepare for the CED play that will likely be coming in the future. We draw MST, which is pretty decent. We're going to bring out a Breaker. We also go for the card destruction now. Scissor Serpent pairs well with card destruction as well, so I figure this is ultimately fine. I could have saved card destruction for after they went for a Sangan search, but they likely could just search out a Serpent with the Sangan, so I figure it won't matter that much. We're going to hit over the Kaiku, get rid of that. And then in main 2, we're just going to set this TT, pass back to our opponent. They are going to fire Duo, so we get a bit punished for our card destruction play. They hit a Kaiku and a Spy. The Spy wouldn't really do much here, so honestly, fine losing Spy. Kaiku is kind of sad to lose because that is a very good card. They're going to go for Mirage. We do not have an MST for this, so they are going to be able to draw 4 there. We add back the Serpent from grave to hand. We go for Pot here, drawing 2. We do have a Black Lotus Soldier. Unfortunately, we don't have a Light and Grave. Now, what we could do potentially, summon out Shining Angel, TT the board, and then bring up BLS, attack in. That seems really bad, though. I mean, they've used up Change of Heart. They've used up Raigeki. They've used up Snatch Shield. So it is a possibility to go for. But they get a search off Sangan here. And I feel like it's just very, very greedy. They also will have a Light and Dark of Grave of their own, so they can bring out their own BLS, they could bring out their own CED. They've got ways to potentially deal with the BLS that we'd bring out in that case. So I don't really want to commit it into that. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to think about this a bit, because we do actually consider that play. But what we're going to do is we're just going to attack into their set with the Breaker. It is a Kaiku, so I'm happy about that. We're going to set the Shining Angel. This is twofold. One, they know about the Serpent, so we want to bluff that we have the Serpent set. And 2, if we do use TT, now we get a Light and Dark and Grave for our BLS. So they are going to not have MST here, so I'm very happy about that. We get to pick one for them to keep, and they pitch a bunch of good ones, so I'm happy that they don't have access to those. They're going to banish a Light and a Dark here, though. Go for it, Chaos Emperor Dragon. Not use Prio. We're just going to fire a TT here. They do get a search off the Sangan, and they will be able to bring that out this turn. Then we're at a DD Warrior Lady, attack in for 15. Now we're on the clock. They can kill us next turn, potentially. And we draw a CED, which is very interesting here. Unfortunately, it's a bit awkward because we only go for one of these cards. We can go for either CED or BLS, but we've only got one Light and Grave, so we can't go for both this turn. So we have the option either to bring up BLS, banish the Warrior Lady, or potentially attack over the Warrior Lady, for 15, set the Serpent. I feel like just banishing the Warrior Lady in that case is better. Or we could go for CED, pay the 1,000 life points and get rid of everything. I feel like that is very, very greedy, as then we'd be at 500. Any monster off the top for them kills us there. So I don't really want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the BLS here. Banish 2. And then just banish their DD Warrior Lady. And I do leave the BLS in attack. Oftentimes you see people bringing up BLS in defense. But in this format, when you have so many 3K Chaos Monsters running around, like, we don't want our opponent to just be able to bring out a Chaos Emperor Dragon, attack over the BLS to clear it that way. So I just want to leave this in attack. We're going to set a Serpent, pass back to our opponent. They're going to go for MST on their Mirage. They've got Forceful to send back our CED there. And they're going to set 3, pass back to us. And this is pretty decent. We draw the CED. I did check. We did shuffle. So, you know, it's just I am playing 3 of it. And you only used up 1 of it. So it's not the most unlikely thing in the world. Unfortunately, they do have a ring, so they are able to pop the BLS here, and that will be the end of the game for us. So, very intense game for that game 1 as well. So, awesome to see so many intense games in this format, so many wild games in this format as well. But we're going to be going first in this one, since we did indeed lose the first game, and this is a pretty great opening hand. Any turn where you open like Comfy is very good. So we're going to fire the Comfy. Look at what they're working with here. They've got Mirror Force, Graceful, Tribe, Shining, and Mirage. Now, Mirage, we can potentially draw an MST next turn to deal with that way. Graceful, we can't really do that. So we're just going to send the Graceful. I feel like Graceful is the more high impact card there. And now we know the rest of the cards in their hand. We're going to set a Spy, go for Mirage, set a Change of Heart. We go for the Mirage because we want to draw into an MST here. It is a little bit risky because we could potentially draw into the other Spy, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. They are going to be fine. They're going to let that go through. And unfortunately, we do indeed draw that Spy, so that is going to be kind of rough. Can't really do anything about that. I mean, we would have drawn into it anyways, but it's just unfortunate to see that off the Mirage. Our opponent is going to set 2, fire the Mirage, and we draw MST off the top, so we can indeed use that MST. We'll use that on their Mirage there. We could have also used it on our own just to keep this hand. But honestly, I'm fine discarding the Spy or the Serpent. So having 2 cards in this hand that I'm fine discarding when we have to discard 2 cards total is ultimately odds that I'm willing to take. So they're going to choose to discard the Serpent and the Sangan there. We get back the Serpent, which is pretty nice. You could have also left the Serpent in grave just to draw more cards off the Mirage. But with only 2 MSTs in deck, I don't really want to do that right now. We're going to bring out this Tribe. And we are going to attack in their set. They've got Mirror Force for that. We knew about the Mirror Force, though. So we were trying to bait that out a little bit. We still got a 2K Defender set to protect ourselves. We draw 2 off this Mirage here. And we draw another MST, so I'm very happy about that. Opponent's going to set 1, pass back to us. We go for MST on our Mirage. We've got Mirror Force and Reborn, both of which are really, really good cards. So we are going to think about this a bit, because we don't really have the best option here. I mean, we could change part of their set, go for something there. We could Reborn something, but there isn't really like too much good stuff to Reborn. We've got Tribe in grave. They don't have anything in grave. So we could also just keep playing defensively, setting a Serpent here. And it looks like that is indeed what we do. We set Serpent, set Mirror Force, pass back to our opponent. Let's play them in a duo a little bit. But if they clear the, well, they don't know that we don't have Serpent in hand. So like they might not want to fire duo on this board. So, you know, I think it's fine to do this. We draw a Warrior Lady, so we can just bring that out. And we're going to think about this. We're just going to flip the Spy to just get the aggressive pressure going. This does tell our opponent that we've got another Spy in hand. So it's unfortunate in that regard, but I think it's ultimately fine. They don't have any Mirror Forces left, so we're going to banish that Shining Angel, attack in for 1,200. And then we're going to pass back to our opponent there. Our opponent is going to bring out a Tribe Infecting Virus. They're not going to use priority, which makes sense because they can just beat over this if they want to. We could have potentially Mirror Force that, but I feel like that's a waste of a Mirror Force. We've got any other Spy in hand to wall off the Tribe again. They go for knock on our Serpent, which is very unfortunate. We would like to have kept that, but doesn't always work that way. We're going to go for Forceful here, take a peek at what they're working with, and we see they've got CED and Darkhold. Now looking at their graveyard, they've got no monsters in grave. Tribe is a water. So I do feel like Darkhold is the better pick here. So we do send back the Darkhold, leave the CED in hand. At least we know about it. We can play around a little bit. We got Reborn to take a monster out of their graveyard potentially. So there's that as well. We set the Spy, pass back to our opponent. They're going to bring out a DD Warrior Lady here. Attack in to our set Spy. We go for a Mirror Force here, popping their board. And they're going to pass back to us. We draw Snatch, which is pretty good. We're going to flip up this Spy, attack in for 12. Unfortunately, they do have Call the Haunted, so they will be able to bring back this DD Warrior Lady. That's kind of rough. And there's nothing really we can do about that. So we're just going to pass back to our opponent. I think I honestly should have set the Snatch Deal. A Snatch Deal would die to like MST or a Harpy anyways. So there's not really a reason not to set the Snatch Deal here. And just doing this plays into like Duo more. And they do know that now our Serpent's gone, so they can fire Duo a little bit more safely. So I feel like maybe I should have set the Snatch, but it is what it is, and it doesn't really come back to bite us here, so that's pretty good. They're not going to banish our spy there, just attacking into it. And we draw IO, so this is a little bit awkward. We don't have a way to deal with the DD Warrior Lady. Cleanly, we could potentially reborn the tribe and either attack over the Warrior Lady or pitch like Snatch Steal for it. Or I think actually we can just go for the Snatch Steal now. Take control of the DD Warrior Lady, attack in for 15, then set IO to protect this. Ideally, we want to use DD Warrior Lady to remove one of their monsters as well. So, you know, basically the Snatcher would turn into like a 2-for-2 in that case. So that's the ideal. We might not be able to pull that off, but hopefully we will be able to do it. They're going to set one pass back to us. We draw MST, so that's a good backup plan in case we need to MST the Call the Haunted there. But they're going to go for an IO after we declare an attack with Warrior Lady. And we have a choice of MSTing the Call or the IO. If we MST the Call, then we get rid of the Warrior Lady. Simplify the game state a little bit. But if we get rid of the IO, we can use our spells. And given that all we've really got are spells, I do just want to get rid of the IO here. So I go for IO. They're going to take 15. We'll pass back to them. They do gain another 1,000. So we're only dealing 500 a turn, but this is a good positional place to be, so we're not too upset about that. They are going to just pass back to us. We feel pretty good about that. We draw Painful Choice, and that is actually the end of the game right there. Because we do have 5 Chaos Monsters left in deck, so we go for Painful Choice here, sending BLS, 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 CED, CED. And they have to give us 1 Chaos Monster, so they give us BLS, because CED is just, you know, wins the game on its own. And we go for the BLS here. We got Reborn then to bring back the Tribe, and this will be over lethal damage. So, you know, as I said in the deck profile, Painful Choice is especially broken in this format, specifically for this reason. So that's going to be game 2. Going into game 3, now that we know we're going second, again, we bring in the Nox over the Comfy and the Forceful. Also, we cut the card destruction for Mirror Force. I should have mentioned that before in the last game, because card destruction was just so bad for us game 1 of this match. They're going to go for Forceful here, sending back the Charity. I think that probably is the correct choice. Although Painful can give us Chaos setup, so that is something to keep in mind. They're going to set 2, pass back to us. We're going to go for Painful here. We're going to send just, you know, 5 Chaos Monsters, just like we did before. They're going to give us CED here, as they don't want their set to be banished, likely. But that's fine. We're just going to go for the CED, and we're going to go for the Geki on their back row. They probably gave us the CED also so we didn't have 2 Lights and Darks engraved, because they did know about the CED that we had in hand. So, yeah, I think that makes sense. We could have potentially done this a little bit differently, sending 3 Darks and 2 Lights, but then they could have just given us a Light, so it wouldn't have mattered here either way, really. But yeah, they're going to add a Serpent to hand. That's kind of rough, but I do think it's just worth going for this anyways, because this is 4,200 damage if they don't have a way to stop it. If they do have a way to stop it, then we got another CED, so we can do that. And then if we actually go for CED here, then that's 4 cards on our side, so 1,200, and then 5 on their side, so 1,500. So that's 2,700 damage total, which I feel like is a pretty precarious position to put them in. Especially since we have so many live draws off the top that basically win us the game out of nowhere. So they do have Serpent here, which is unfortunate. It'll allow them to buy a little bit of time, but I feel like we're still favored to win this game. We draw a Sangan. That's a really, really good draw. We can summon that out, attack it in their set. We know it's the Serpent, so we know we can clear it. And they don't really have a good way to deal with Sangan unless they draw like Warrior Lady. They draw Kaiku. That's pretty decent for them. They can banish 2 from our graveyard here. Going for the double BLSs just to get rid of the Lights engrave. Actually, they're going to go for CD BLS to get rid of a Light and a Dark, I guess. Because we can't banish anyways, so it doesn't really matter there. We draw a Warrior Lady from the Sangan. Just this deals with the Kaiku, so it's pretty good in that regard. We draw Shining Angel, though, so that gives us another option here, potentially. We're going to set the Angel, pass back to our opponent. The idea here is if they attack in to the Angel, then we can bring out the other DD Warrior Lady from deck to clear the Kaiku that way. So yeah, I feel like it's ultimately pretty good. They go for Graceful here, though, which is really good when you have a Serpent in hand as well, and are low resources. So they're going to pitch a Serpent and a Spy. They're going to go for Reborn on a Warrior Lady, and they're going to attack into our set with the Kaiku. So we will get to start something out with the Shining Angel here. We're actually going to bring in another Shining Angel instead of the other Warrior Lady from deck. The reason for this is I figured that Warrior Lady will trade with the Shining Angel either way, and if we bring out Warrior Lady, then we have no lights left in deck to bring out off of Shining Angel. So Shining Angel becomes a bit of a brick later on. So I feel like this is ultimately fine. They're going to attack in with the Warrior Lady there. And we will lose our Shining Angel. But we've got this other Warrior Lady in hand to deal with the Kaiku. We draw Graceful, which is really, really good here. We could potentially just win the game on the spot here. So we're going to go for Graceful, draw 3. Those are 3 good ones, and also some tricky ones to actually decide on what to send. Ultimately, in the end, we decide to pitch the MST, because MST is a bit low impact here. And we also pitch the Warrior Lady because they do know about that. Also, Spy can wall off the Kaiku, deal a little bit of chip damage. And we got this TT as well to deal with if they summon another monster. We unfortunately have our only other Spy in the graveyard there, so we won't be able to bring out a monster off our Spy. But having a 2K defender that's difficult for them to deal with is pretty good enough. And if they do bring out any monster to deal with it, then we got the TT for that. So they're going to go for the Mirage. They also had back the Serpent in hand. So we picked 2 for them to keep, and they send Io, Painful, Raigeki, and Shining. That's really good for us to send there. I'm very happy about that. And they are going to think a bit about this because it is a very important turn. They're going to bring up Breaker. That can just clear our TT here, so I just go for the TT. As if they got a Chaos Monster, they win the game through this anyways, if they can clear the TT anyways. So, yeah, I feel like this is the better option to do. Until we draw Change of Heart, that's unfortunate. Change of Heart actually could have won us the game there if we had left their board alive, because if they breakered our back row, then, you know, they'd attack in for chip damage. We could, like, Change of Heart the Kaiku, attack over the Breaker, and also attack indirectly for game with the Spy. So, unfortunate there, but the good thing about Change of Heart is if they bring out any other monster with 1100 or more attack, we can Change of Heart it and then attack in for game. So we picked 2 for them to keep there, and they send a BLS, Serpent, and Spy. So unfortunate that they sent the Serpent, but ultimately not the worst thing in the world. They bring out a Witch, which is actually exact lethal if we actually manage to Change of Heart it and attack in with it. We draw Pot of Greed, which is very nice as well. We can pot into some more things. So we go for the pot, and we draw Torrential and Mirror Force, which gives us some insulation if this play does not work. So we're going to Change of Heart the Witch, attack in for 1100 there. Unfortunately, they do have the Mirror Force set there, so they will get a search off that. But we had to go for this. If they didn't have Mirror Force exactly, basically, then we would have won the game there. So I think it made sense to go for that either way. But there's an argument to save it as well, I guess. We set TT and Mirror Force there. And we pick 3 for them to keep because they did get a search. So we pick those 3. They send a Serpent, Ring, and DD Warrior Lady. So they will be able to add back a Serpent in hand, but they choose not to here because they want to get more draws off the Mirage. So they're going to set the entire thing, pass back to us. They're going to go for Mirage here for 4. And that's pretty good. I mean, they likely have an MST by now because they're down to 9 cards left in deck. And this is a very scary situation for us to be in. We go for a Dark Hole here just to clear up like a Magician of Faith. And we do indeed hit that. So that way they won't be able to get back a spell. And we've got TT and Mirror Force still set. So they're going to go for MST on their Mirage there. They're going to add back the Serpent. And they're going to go for Pot of Greed here. Drawing 2 more. Deck out might be an option, actually, at this point in the game, which is kind of funny. They're going to think about this for a bit. And they are going to banish a Light in the Dark, bring out a Chaos Ember Dragon. We're not asked about Prio. They're not going to Prio, and that is fine. We're saving this for Mirror Force because the idea is, like, if we TT and then they MS your remaining background, bring out another Chaos Monster, then they can kill us using Battle Phase. If we use a Mirror Force here, then they MS your back row, then bring out another Chaos Monster. They can't actually win through that because it will be out of the battle phase. So I wanted to save the Mirror Force for that, and I do indeed. So we're just going to do that. They're going to set 3, pass back to us. We draw MST, which is not really that good here. We're going to set that, pass back to our opponent. They're going to... What are they going to do here? It's a bit tricky. They got a couple different options here. They're going to banish a Light in the Dark, bring out a BLS here. And I do have the decision, do I TT this or do I let it go through? And the reason for potentially not TTing here is if they get another Chaos Monster, then I might lose the game. But I think, honestly, I should have TT'd here. They have to have the other Chaos Monster, and they might not be playing all those Chaos Monsters as, you know, we are playing 6, but they might not be. And we do see 2 BLS, 2 CED. So, you know, if they're not playing 3 of each, then this will be their last Chaos Monster, and it's very good to TT that. But we don't TT it because we figure, you know, they might get greedy, go for game here with another Chaos Monster. Also, the BLS on its own is not game. So, yeah, we got a little bit greedy there. Maybe it'll come back to bite us. We draw a Witch here. And so we'll be able to bring out that Witch, go for a TT here, popping the board and getting a search. We're going to search out Kaiku. But this is a very, very dangerous spot to be in. They are going to add back the Serpent to hand here. They're going to bring out a tribe, attack in for 1600 with the tribe, dropping us down to 400 life points. We're in a very, very scary spot. They're going to go for call here. We're going to MST that. And then they're going to just pass back to us. We draw a ring, which is pretty good. We can cause a draw here in a worst case scenario. So we're going to bring out this Kaiku here, attack in for 200. That will go through. And they're going to think about this. Or we're going to think about this because we have to think about what to banish. They've got too many lights and darks, so we just banish a Shining Angel and Warrior Lady. Doesn't really matter that much. We're going to set this ring and then pass back to our opponent. So if they've got another Chaos Bomb, they can't bring it off Kaiku, which is pretty nice. And let's see if they do. They do not. So I feel like this game maybe showed that they're not playing 3 of each, which is very, very important information for Game 3 if it does turn into a grind like this. We're going to bring out a Kaiku of their own, go for Snatch Steal on our Kaiku, and then we go for the ring on our Kaiku as well. The reason why you go for ring on your own Kaiku is if they've got a Book of Moon, then they have to Book of Moon your Kaiku if they want to prevent a draw from happening, and then, you know, they'll have to attack in with their own Kaiku there, so into our Kaiku. So we'd survive for a turn. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. They don't have the book. And we will be going to the Game 4, as that is a draw for that. So 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. This game will determine all the marbles here. And, you know, there's been a very, very exciting couple of sets. Very, very cool games. I think I did majorly misplay in the game where I just let the BLS go. So, you know, good to keep in mind for the future. But I think, like, you know, still, we've got a chance to win the game here if we can pull it off. They're going to go for a painful here, sending 3 hand rips and double dust shoot. So they are ready to rip apart our hand, prevent us from going for the chaos combo. And because all the others allow them to choose what to send, I'm actually going to give them the duo. Worst case scenario, they hit the CED, and then, you know, we pitch a Shining Angel. We got chaos set up that way. I guess Ring would also be bad for them to hit, but if they hit anything else, I feel pretty fine about this. So they hit in MST. I'm perfectly fine with that. I just pitched this Shining Angel here. They're going to set 3, pass back to us. We draw Raigeki, which is pretty good. We're going to go for a breaker here. They've got Ring to stop the breaker, so that will actually hit before the counter reaches it, so we'll only take 1,600, not 1,900. And we are in a pretty good spot because we can bring out CED if we want to. I think I actually maybe should have CED'd, like brought out the CED here, just gone for it. Because if I like Raigeki, they're set, then bring out CED, and just attack in, they'd have to have like Mirror Force. But if they don't have Mirror Force, then we get in for 3k, and then we deal a ton of damage off the CED if we choose to use the effect. So or actually we could just win with a Ring as well. So I think it probably would have been better just to Raigeki their set, bring out the CED, and then attack in, and then ring it in our standby phase, or their standby phase. So, but that's a little bit risky if they got Mirror Force, I guess, but it probably still would have been the right amount of aggression to do there. They're going to flip up a Sangan, attack in for 1,000. We'll take that 1,000. And they're going to set another pass back to us. We draw a Reborn, which is pretty good. So I'm going to banish a Light in the Dark now, go for the CED. We do go for a Raigeki here. They've got the IO, though. So, you know, that will stop the Raigeki from going through. We won't be able to get 3k. We'll only be able to get 2k. They will get a search off that. And if we had actually gotten, if we'd gone all the way there and dealt 1,000 more, then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that would have been exact lethal. But unfortunately, did not work out that way. So, yeah, we're just going to set the Reborn of the bluff, pass back to our opponent. I think maybe we should have actually kept it in hand, in case they have like Breaker or MST and they want to hit that. But I don't want them to like MST our Ring. So, yeah, also, you know, our hand is protected because they've got all the hand rips engraved, so I don't really care about keeping a card in hand. And Reborn is very good here. They're going to MST our backer here. They're going to hit the Ring. So we're going to just ring the CED. They don't have a Light engraved, so they can't go for a Chaos Monster super easily to kill us here. But there are some potential ways they could do it. Like if they bring on a monster and then Reborn, that would be really bad for us. So I feel like this might have been a misplay, but at the same time, we dropped them down to 400 life points. It's a very precarious position. We've got Reborn here to bring back a monster to sort of press the aggressive. So I feel like we're in a good spot. We draw Pot of Greed as well. We know IO's gone, so we can just fire this. We draw Kaiku, which is really good as well. So we're going to bring out that Kaiku. We're going to set the TT attack into the set. Could have gone for Reborn here. But, you know, the only thing that we can bring back off Reborn is their Sangan. So if they've got Mirror Force, we get uber punished by that. So I don't want to do that. And we hit a Serpent, which is pretty good to hit. They're going to search at or add that Serpent to hand. And then they're going to set one pass back to us. We draw IO, which is pretty good. We're going to set the IO attack into the set. And we're setting in main 1 just to play our Morphin if they are playing that. They've got the Spy, though, which is going to be pretty rough for us. We just take 200, pass back to them. They've got Snatch Shield for our Kaiku. We've got IO, though, so IO will stop that at least. But they've got monsters to switch to defense, and we don't really have a way to deal with these Snatch super easily. Let's see what they do here. They are going to bring out a Kaiku of their own. We do have to TT that. If they crash the Kaikus and attack in for 24, we just lose the game. So we TT that board, wipe everything. And if we draw a monster, we win the game here, basically. We draw MST, which is, basically a monster, because what we can do here is we can just MST their back row, reborn a card from our grave, and be off to the races that way. We had a Mirror Force, so I'm very glad we go for that. And, yeah, this will be the end of the game, unless they've got Karibo, but they do not. Last card in hand were Serpent and BLS, but unfortunately they never got the light to actually turn that on. But that's going to do it for these games. I think it was really, really cool to explore what this format would actually look like. I think that IOC format is a really, really cool take on the Chaos format meta. Now, that being said, I do think that IOC format makes Chaos even more of a tier 0 deck than it already is. In regular Chaos format, you do have Chaos like at the top of the format, but you also have other decks that can sort of compete, and there's a lot of exploration going on into those decks and seeing if they can actually, turn the format out of a tier 0 format into a tier 1 format. And I do think it could potentially reach there. In IOC format, Chaos just feels too strong. Having access to 6 Chaos monsters is just broken, and it is just devastating when you see a CED dropped on you or a BLS dropped on you, and that happens all the time in this deck. So I think that IOC format is very fun, but for a particular type of player, you have to enjoy these sorts of all-in Chaos mirrors, and I do think they're really fun mirrors, but they're definitely not going to be for everyone. But I hope that you enjoyed the video as always. If you did, leave a like down below. Also subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And also if you want to support me directly, you can sign up for my Patreon. So big shout outs to Bren Donker, Porkchop Coon, Rincewind, and GMYFS for supporting me directly. It really means a lot to me and motivates me to make even more videos. But that's going to do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed as always. If you do want to play games in this format or any of the other formats that I've featured in my videos, head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server. It's a great place to find games there. And also we hold tournaments pretty frequently. But until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.